What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Resellers Podcast with Daily Refinement. Thank you so much for joining me. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about why are we even doing this? Why are we putting ourselves through this crazy reselling journey? And I polled about 120 people this morning trying to figure out why we're doing this. And I feel like we're kind of all on the same page, but maybe in different stages of our reselling career. So number one, probably income, right? You guys are reselling because you want to make a little extra money. Little extra money turns into maybe taking care of yourself. Maybe you can support yourself. Then maybe you can take care of other people. Maybe you want to support a family or a partner or elderly people or other people that you want to support. So you go from extra money to taking care of yourself, taking care of others. Maybe you want to finance a lifestyle you're looking for, a certain area you want to live into. Personally, I want to live in a nice neighborhood with a good school district. That's sort of my current why for the income part. And then finally is financial freedom. That's maybe you resell to the point where you put that money in some passive income, maybe some real estate, maybe some stocks, live on that the rest of your life. Financial freedom for most people is like 25 times your annual income. So maybe you're looking for financial freedom with reselling. I've heard a couple of people say they want to get rich from reselling. Everything from a couple of extra bucks to being rich, you fall between that area. That's the income. Number two, I thought this is interesting, is the actual enjoyment. Is it the thrill of the hunt? Is there some satisfaction that you have from running a business the way that you want, looking across your inventory system and everything looking uniform, neat? You go into the post office and everybody knowing your name. You ship on time, they know you. Maybe you give your mail carrier a stack of money or a $25 gift card each season. Maybe down on your thrift store route, people know you. Maybe you have a couple of connects and plugs at the flea market. Maybe you have a couple of distributors you work with. Maybe you work with a couple of shops down the street. When it's the end of the season, they call you to come pick it up. Maybe you work with a local golf course, and when they can't sell their golf shoes at the end of the season, they call you and liquidate for 95% off. I've seen all of that. All of those are enjoyable. And I heard in the morning from a few different people that the satisfaction of having a happy customer is why they do this. They love that positive feedback, the positive reinforcement of making a customer happy out there. 100% positive feedback. Customers being jazzed about getting the item that you sent them, better than described, faster than I thought. All those are really, really good reasons that you would actually enjoy this. Now, I didn't know where to categorize this one, but a lot of people said they like reselling because they don't have to deal with other people. Now, I don't know if that means that you're introverted or you're extroverted, but I personally am extroverted, but I still like talking to less people and just dealing through the message system. If somebody's unhappy, instead of them being in your face at Starbucks, they just say, hey, this wasn't as described. What do you want to do about it? You can always offer returns, partial refund, full refund, replacement. Just much easier over the phone. Over messaging than it is in person, where someone could be really hot because you messed up their birthday party. So I don't know where to categorize not having to deal with people, but a lot of people resell for that reason. Then flexibility, probably the next biggest one, right? People are reselling because their life circumstances a certain way. Maybe their health conditions are a certain way and it prevents them from getting a different kind of job. Maybe their family obligations are big. They're staying at home to take care of family. Could be kids, could be elderly. Maybe there's other family obligations that you have, like traveling or odd hours that make it so you can only work strange hours and off and on. In that scenario, it makes sense that you would pick a job like reselling where you can do it on your own schedule. That's the next one, time flexibility. You could work on reselling 20 hours a day, 1 hour a day, 1 hour a month. You could go to one garage sale a month and see what you can do. You could also go to 20 garage sales every weekend. Everyone's model is a little bit different. I think this flexibility part really makes people as very, very happy to be a reseller. I personally love the flexibility of being able to work when I want to work. Now, shout out to Back from Burnout Mel. I thought this was pretty interesting. She said I was the only reseller that dressed for work. She stayed with a bunch of resellers, but I put on pants and a polo and real shoes, not Crocs, when I go to work. And I feel like I enjoy that process. I like feeling like I'm going to work and I like leaving work. It is weird though, because I work for myself. I don't have to dress up. Um, but I personally like feeling a certain way when I go to work. My work uniform is just pants and a shirt, but it's a polo shirt generally. And I feel like I like that. I like being able to choose my wardrobe. And the fact that I sell clothing, kind of mind blowing, because if you guys have ever had a traditional job, sometimes you're spending a few $100s a month on keeping up your wardrobe. But if you're a clothing or shoe seller, you get the dress for success for pennies in the dollar. You might be able to dress to impress just because you know all the good brands, and you might have a $10,000 wardrobe that you only paid $700 for over the course of the years. So pretty interesting being able to find super valuable stuff, knowing the difference between quality and junk, and being able to have only the quality items in your life. I think most people who are reselling don't wear the junk. They usually wear the good stuff. Next one would be sustainability. I find that this is pretty interesting. A lot of people like saving items from the landfill. They like being part of the recycle, reuse movement. And I feel like that's becoming more and more of a thing, especially since there's so many things available to us at such a low cost. I mean, we're talking about computer, phone, place to live, car. After you have that, you can live like 90% of the lifestyle that you're looking for. So a lot of people are really trying to deal with this insane waste that our country has afforded us. There's just so much available to everybody that a lot of it ends up going to the landfill. Me personally, I'm selling a lot of liquidation right now, and it's kind of shocking to me that most of this stuff would have ended up in the landfill if I didn't end up buying it. So really tremendous. The sustainability has become such a huge thing for everybody. Lauren is saying in the chat that in pharmacy, they have business professional dress. And I think that that definitely helps with the mindset of being successful, just because it's such a different feeling dressing up when you go to work versus not. We're doing real life right now. I'm doing the podcast in the shop. So a little bit of background noise. I appreciate you guys being patient. But I really, really think that reselling is a tremendous tool that people of all personality types can take. I did the Enneagram test today and also the Myers-Briggs. I'm an ENTJ and I'm also a type 2. A lot of people figured that out on the morning call just from hanging out with me for so many years. But I feel like regardless of what personality type you are, reselling can cater because you get to pick the environment that you work in. This is one of the coolest, most amazing parts of running your own business, is that you get to pick the environment that you work in, right? If you enjoy working at home, you can. If you want to work at a coffee shop for some ambient noise, you can. If you want to work in a warehouse, you can. You could do your listings in the sauna if you wanted to. Anything. And so I think it's really important to figure out how you are built, how you like to do things, what works for you may not work for other people. There's a general checklist of what we do need to do as a reseller, and those things are pretty straightforward. We need to learn how to source items. We need to pick items from our inventory system, pick, pack, and ship, prep, sort, grade items, price and research items, stage and photograph items, do customer service, bookkeep, and do accounting. Also, we need to know how to fix existing listings. If items are not selling, we need to be able to know why, go back and fix it so they can get out of our store and out of our life. These are the skills that you need in order to be a reseller. So you have all these whys. Why are you doing this? For your family, for your kids, for your legacy, for the clout. Whatever you're looking for, we are all looking for the same skills, right? Now, let's go to one specific thing in customer service. You need to be able to deal with negative feedback, cases, returns, disputes, chargebacks, product issues. Those are all pieces of your repertoire that you need, because there's going to be a point in your career where you sell something, that something happened to the item that was out of your control, and now you need to deal with that customer who is unhappy, or a shipping error, or the item was lost, or they don't remember ordering it and they dropped their phone and their dog ordered it. All those different scenarios, you actually have to have the right background and the right experience level to deal with it. And that's where I see so many people getting caught up. Your environment is always going to be changing, and you need to have the routine to get back to work when your environment changes. Because unfortunately, it's not going to be a controlled environment every day where it's always the same. Hate to break it to you guys at home, but every single day for me is a little bit different. But I have the exact same responsibilities. Vince in the chat is saying shopping under the influence. I have seen that. Sorry, I ordered this when I was at the bar. I apologize. I was high when I ordered this. That can happen. That's part of it. If you sell enough items, every single drug of choice will be the reason that they purchased your item. You got to go with the flow. You can either offer them a free return. You can file it under buyer's remorse so you don't get stuck with a defect on your account. But everything happens, but it's all part of it. I consider about a 5% plus minus normal. You sell 100 items, it's going to be 5 items that have something that happened out of the ordinary. Let's try to keep it to 5% or lower. In a retail environment, shoplifting is 7% or higher. So at least when you're doing this in your own house, hopefully you're not stealing from yourself and wearing your cool jersey that you found on the weekend and ruining it. But if you do that under 7% of the time, you're still ahead of the brands around you. So we're all just trying to stay ahead of the curve. And I heard earlier on a podcast that business is really cutthroat, and there's only when you do make a sale, it is coming at the expense of somebody else. And to some degree, I do think business is cutthroat, but I think ultimately we are solving problems for people. When you sell an item, it's for somebody that needs it. You're solving their problem, and you're doing it in a way that people trust you over other people doing the exact same thing. And I don't think that we're out of problems. I can think of a lot of things that I need in my life that I would pay for if that service or product was rendered. And I don't think we're going to run out of that anytime soon. In fact, there's probably more problems than ever. Right now, we're in a situation where a lot of people are down on their luck. The economy is turned. Their family situation has changed. The cost of groceries is ridiculous. And the answer to that is solving more other people's problems so that you can be compensated. I think it's going to get worse. I think a sandwich is going to cost $23 in 2024. That's a lot. Just for a basic sandwich with mayonnaise and a chip and a drink, $20 bill is not going to cut it anymore. The costs keep going up, and these restaurants have to stay in business. I don't know if you can lower your price out of it. Have you guys seen people that are lowering the price in the real world? I don't see that. I see them raising the prices accordingly and people just buying it. On eBay, that is not the scenario. Poshmark, not the scenario. These platforms are different. People are solving a different problem. They're solving boredom. They're solving novelty, right? You're trying to sell weird, unique, odd items on eBay. You're solving novelty. Very rarely, if you're selling something really unique, you find a really, really cool pair of Bali shoes that's crocodile skin. Nobody's looking for that necessarily. Not that exact shoe in that size. Maybe they're looking for something similar and you pop up on a saved search. Or maybe you are super lucky and you find something that exactly what people are looking for. But most likely you just hit 1 or 2 out of the 11 keywords that you used in your title and found that buyer. And they trusted you with their money. And I just feel so grateful right now because there's so many opportunities to solve a problem for somebody. And I'm working on getting the widest inventory that I can without breaking my systems. I want as many things that fit the way that I sell as possible in as many different categories and as many different sizes and as many different price ranges so I can try to attract as many customers as possible to my offering. If you improve your offer every single day and you just focus on that, how can you be a better husband, better father, better friend, better influencer, better business person? That's it. Better is the key. Sometimes better is more, and you have to stay at work an extra hour. Sometimes better is being more focused at work for an hour, going home early, resting more, eating well, exercising. And Raphael this week was talking about changing your environment. And I think that is so key. Right now in my secondary space, there are all these units that are 10 by 20. And I was just thinking, man, I can do some damage in 10 by 20. If I had a 10 by 20, I could make a full-time living, no problem. And all I see is just these blank slates as I walk around, because my storage unit that I'm working out of is really, really, really empty. It's like 10% full, 90% empty. And I was looking at a new unit. That's the shape that I'm looking for. The way I do business, I actually want an L-shaped workspace, just for the way that I'm currently operating. An L space works really well, just because I can do two spaces where the sound is sort of blocked by the L shape. And I was looking around and I asked the landlord, "Oh, I'm looking at the L space over here." And she said, "Oh, I'm working on that space with a couple of other people. Give me a day or two and I'll let you know if that space is available." And I was like, "Lady, it's available. Are you serious? You gonna play this game with me? Ain't nobody looking at this unit. There's nobody here. I'm the only person in the building right now. Nobody is looking at this unit. You're gonna pretend like there's a level of urgency here, and when you tell me in a couple of days that it's available, that I'm gonna pop just because you think that I think there's somebody else looking at it?" But that's sales 101. You can't let people know that you have unlimited supply and don't want to buy from you. So she's making me bid against myself, against this imaginary person that also wants this unit. So when it becomes available in a day or two, I'm going to pop on it. I know what she's getting at, but real recognize real. I understand her sales tactic. There's no actual urgency there. But she's solving a problem for me, which is I need a different shape space. And she's going to provide it at the best premium that she can. Because I'm actually in a position right now to ask for a discount. So tomorrow, when she hits me with, "Oh, I talked to this person and they don't want it. If you want to move on it now, I can give you this price." I'm going to say, "I want a free month." And then I'm ready to move. How about that? So we're going to play this game back and forth, but that's all we're doing. Reselling is a game with yourself, building the plan that you want. And I know what I want my channel to do. I want my channel to inspire you to be better. And that's the whole point. I want 1,000 people in my group just trying to be better and thinking about, is this next action I'm going to take going to make my life better or easier or more straightforward or more meaningful? Sometimes more meaningful, not easier. Right now, my daughter, she's like trilingual because she goes to a bilingual school. She only speaks English to me. And if she's trying to explain to me something that I don't know, she'll slow down because she thinks I'm too dumb to understand her in a different language. And it's pretty funny because she's only 2 and she's catering her language to the customer, which is me. Right? So she's got to dumb it down so that her dad can actually understand what she's talking about. She's already learned that skill at age 2 because I'm not as sharp as the teachers at her school when she's trying to make a point. So know your customer is key. Know why ranking matters. How do you get things to rank higher? How do you get people to show up to your listing? How do you get people to stay on your listing? How do you get people to actually pull the trigger and buy it? How do you get them to actually keep the item and not return it? That's what we should all be obsessed with. I'm trying to think about how to make my jobs easier for my workers. And I've now decided that daily training is a thing. I was trying to think here. Let's say I decide to move from worker bee to manager. What am I actually managing? And I figured out that I need to do daily training every single day. Got to sharpen the saw. In an environment like mine, where it's sales in person, got to keep it sharp. If you are a marketplace, it's a little different. You actually need to make sure you maintain consistency. So with us, since every day is different, the amount of the people is different, got to adjust it slightly to who is in the chat. But when you are listing on eBay or Poshmark or Mercari, you're actually listing to reach the most number of people qualified to buy your item who are interested in that item. It's a little bit different. Dana this morning was saying she tried a Whatnot stream and says she prefers the marketplace. I agree. Marketplace is easier. It's very different. You get to present your item in the best format that you can. That's it. You wait for the fish to bite. You bait your hook, you throw it in the water, you wait, do the best job you can. Nobody comes. Maybe the bait's gone. Maybe the bait wasn't good enough. Maybe you're in the wrong part of the ocean. That's for you to figure out. And through that, through fishing in the right location, you guys get to the point that I was bringing up in the beginning of the call, which is, why are we even doing this? Trying to make extra, trying to take care of yourself, trying to take care of others. You love the thrill of the hunt, love being compensated, don't like answering to no one. That's the thing. So many people love working for themselves, calling all the shots. But honestly, that's a high price to pay. You want to call your own shots and live your life exactly how you want? How dare you? That's like a really, really, really big ask, honestly. Other people, they go to work and do what they're told, go home, do what their family needs, pay their rent that they're supposed to, go to sleep, wake up, do it again, and they're paycheck to paycheck. Do you want to live not like that, where you control what you do every single day with who you want? You tell other people when you're going to be leaving or coming? That's very, very, very different. And you almost need to be delusional to think that you can do that. 90% of people just go to work and go home. You're going to not do that. You don't have to fall into that. You're just going to do your own thing every day. That is a big ask. We live in a country where in the United States, you can do that. There's no restriction for how hard you can work. You can make your offering irresistible. To quote Alex Ramosi, sell things that, I can't even quote him right now, but essentially you make your offer so desirable that people feel stupid saying no. You can work on that nonstop all day long, crafting it so that people think they're getting $1 million worth of stuff and you're paying 10. And when they get it, they tell all their friends they got $1 million thing for $10. And that's worth $1 bajillion, the referral game. I'm in the business of repeat customers. I have a YouTube channel, try to deliver as much value that people want to listen again, podcast. Hopefully people enjoy it and they come back and listen again. Hopefully they learn something useful. I was just interviewing somebody before the podcast and I was telling her that my calling is instructing. I didn't even know I was an instructor until someone told me. I just thought I want to be as useful as possible. If I learn something at work, I want to tell people. And it's now my 10-year anniversary of being an entrepreneur in February. I've been working for myself for 10 years. And yesterday I was telling my wife how crappy the first 6 years were. Like, man, this was freaking brutal. Like going from making 6 figures to making 0. And then like every day, just watch my savings go down and down and down as I'm figuring it out. Because I didn't go in a straight line when I started. I zigzagged a lot figuring this out. You guys have followed my journey for a long time. I did not take a straight line approach to being successful. You guys listening right now, you could follow daily refinement and only do things that improve. I did not do that. I did things that I thought were interesting. They did not improve me. And as much as I have learned, I don't wish that upon anybody. I wish you guys would not do that and pick one path and follow that path until success, instead of bouncing around from thing to thing. It was a painful path to where I have arrived. Patrice says the quote is, make people an offer so good they would feel stupid saying no. That's exactly how I feel. I'm trying to make an offer that's so awesome that people have an easy time saying yes and they feel silly saying no because the offer is so good. Know thyself is going to be the theme of next year as well. Know thyself, make a standard operating procedure that works for you specifically. Are you not motivated at home? Don't work at home. A lot of resellers list in the car. They get their photos done. They put it on their computer. They go into their car, use the Wi-Fi at home in the front driveway and list because there's no one there to bother them. And how silly are you in your car on your laptop and you're on Instagram? Like, come on now, leave your phone inside, go into the car, get your 10 listings up, get out of the car and go home. But if you know that about yourself and you knock that out, you're going to have a much easier time reaching your goals. Got to know yourself. Got to have a standard operating procedure. The difference between hobby and reseller, hobby and professional, is just a set of instructions that you follow. I don't want my workers confused about what they're doing at work. So I've changed it. So now we talk about how the day went and what we're doing the next day. Can't have surprises. I want to be 2 weeks ahead in everything. I want my taxes done. I've now made it so that I want to go February 1st. February 1st is my new goal for taxes, since you don't get your 1099s for a couple of weeks. But I can tell you for sure that my payroll for the year is done. So when the 1st arrives, automatically in the mail, all of the documentation goes out to everybody's house. Ready to go. I want to be ahead in everything. And being proactive, thinking about why I'm doing this, what skills and systems do I need, and then building out the schedule, that's my jam. If you guys want that, that's really all I want to talk about. What do you want and how do we get it? So much easier when you know where you're going, or at least what direction you're walking. I think the direction is up. Let's all go up. You know, I'm not necessarily a spiritual person, but I have a tremendous amount of faith in the daily refinement process. You start improving yourself. You start reselling on your own terms. You start building your own skills. You start making sure you stay sharp. So many people in the group are under 20 and over 60. Like, are you serious? That's like we're talking about the same occupation here with, I think there's people in their 80s doing this and people that are 13 that are doing this. 67-year difference in the people who are doing the same occupation. And when you're in your 80s, your priorities are different. Maybe staying sharp is why you do reselling. Just trying to stay sharp on the trends. What do people look for? What do they want? The full realization of one's creative, intellectual, and internal drive is what ChatGPT says is self-actualization. So, do you want to be all you can be? Is that why you're here? I actually struggle with this a bit because I always think, what's the most number of items I could sell? It's kind of a depressing concept because it could be way more than you're currently doing. But I also compare that to, what have I been doing? What's the average number of sales that I have? My interview was talking to me about the average number of orders, and amazingly, I have almost the same number of orders every single day. It's just set up to sell this many items. And I just feel like there is no limit. You can set up your system so that you sell. I guess I want to bring the statistic up for you guys. My wife works for a company that sells 1,400 items a minute, 24 hours a day. Can you just let that settle in for a second? And it's a Fortune 100 company. So we're talking about top 100 companies in America. They sell 1,400 items every minute, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's the average. That is insane. So that means, I'm just going to do the math real quick. 1,400 items a minute divided by 60 is 23 items a second. That is so crazy. So you know how there's a story of Jeff Bezos wanting, he set up a bell in his house to go off every single time he had a sale. And his goal was to make it one solid ring. 23 sales a second. That's just one solid ring all day, guys. That's nuts. So there's a human being that in their lifetime, because the founder of the company was around until recently, that did that in one lifetime. In one lifetime, they built a company from 0 to 1,400 sales a minute. So 23 sales a second. That's so insane. Same person, same human life, same world. Right? And other people who are paycheck to paycheck forever. They have the same skills, just not applied. So knowledge is not power, guys. Knowledge is just a multiplier. I've learned so much recently in the last 3 weeks about calls. It's kind of like I can't even imagine the improvement that's going to happen next year, because now that you're aware of like where you're going and you can just listen, okay, my goal is $1,000 a week profit. Does this advice from this person apply to me? What are they doing that makes it so that they're doing what they're doing, and what am I doing that makes me what I'm doing? What is the environment difference? I want, this is the last week of December 2023. I want everyone right now to fill up in a bin of stuff that they're never going to sell and put it in your car this week. Just one bin. If you like that, or one piece of furniture, or one Nerf gun that you're never going to get around to listing, just start improving your environment day by day, one piece by one piece. It'll get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner, and there'll only be stuff left that is ready to go. Only what's left. And the more similar you can do, the more powerful your life will be, and the more you can go. I'm going to give you guys an idea from my stream. I've been watching streams every single day and trying to gather important things that people are doing. And I noticed something that people are doing. When there's a stream, sometimes people will say, I have a pair of shoes. I have it available in size 6 or size 9. Here you go. Winner picks number 9. And they say, okay, guys, same exact shoe, size 6, let's go. They just, all the item specifics that they've already gone over, they don't need to go over again. What a tremendous time hack. Such a good idea. So imagine it takes about 1 minute to talk about an item. And the next item, you can just skip that 1 minute. You are so far ahead of everybody else. Let's do that with reselling. Sell the exact same item minus this is a blue one instead of a green one. Huge, 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 ridiculous time saver. And I watched over the course of, on Whatnot, the metric that they really looked at is what is your average sale price and how many auctions do you do per hour? Those are the two numbers they look at. And the difference between the people who just change the size, okay, guys, same thing, size small, same thing, size medium, same thing, size large, same thing, but it's blue. The difference in that is like we're talking about 70 to 100 items an hour versus 10 an hour. If you are having to start over and change every single time you do something. So we're talking the same hour for two people, one person making 7 to 10 times more money. If that's not inspirational, I don't know what is. The company that does 1,400 sales a minute, they only have around 200 SKUs. It's not very many SKUs, guys. It's just like the same thing they're selling millions of times. Apple only has 9 offerings. They seem to be doing just fine. I think we all get consumed in this needing to sell more and more and more, bigger and bigger and bigger stores, when maybe next year you cut your store size in half and make twice as much money. Kind of scary. Imagine you have 1,000 items in your store and you sold 700 this year for 14 grand. The next year, you sell 28 grand, but only have 500 items in your store. It's different. My wife always says that I need to use my brain to make money. And it's hard to sit down and think about what could be better. I ask the question in the morning call every day. I don't get that many answers because it's hard to think about what would make it better. It's easy to just do the same thing. Oh, today I'm so busy. I got my 8 listings. But take the extra 10 minutes or the extra hour to think, how can I make today better than yesterday? Or how can I make tomorrow easier than today? A lot of my channel is repetitive because people don't need new information. You only need a reminder of what's important. And most of you just need to show up. Anybody listening right now, if I take you to your photo station and there's items to photograph ready and your camera or your phone is in your hand, you're ready to go. Anything other than that, you're not ready to go. And you might as well forget about why you're doing this, because you're not achieving that. Everything that's not related to camera in your hand or phone in your hand, walking up to taking photos, other than that, is taking you further away from your goal. That's worse. And we're looking for better. I love when people say, you know what? Patrice shared that she cleared off her desk and she showed a picture in the group. And I thought, wow, that's a nice place to work. That's all we really want. Nice place to work, happy customer, feel meaningful with the work that we do. That's all we can ask for. As this group matures, it's starting to blow my mind how simple it is to not get your work done. Just one or two things out of place, one or two different processes. When I tried cleaning shoes with a steamer, this is so interesting. A 1 minute once over on the whole shoe gets out all the pebbles and the like visible debris on the shoe. But if you want to return the shoe to its original color, it can take 1 minute per 1 square inch. And 1 minute per 1 square inch means 46 minutes to clean that pair of shoes. That's a long time, because cleaning it as clean as it can go, that's a 1 minute per square inch job. And it just blew my mind, because like, you could do that. You could restore every single item back. You could even repaint the soles so they look like new. And that really opened my eyes for establishing a standard that makes sense for you. And I think that there's a certain dollar amount that it makes sense for you to do certain things. And I'll give you guys an example. I saw a vintage t-shirt seller sell 100 shirts for $100 or more on a stream. Every single shirt had a typed out history of the shirt, measurements, defects that he put with the shirt. Like, hey, I have carefully examined this shirt. These are all the flaws. This is all the historical dimensions or historical significance. I am a vintage expert. He ran the auction. Every single item went for over $100. He started $1 with every single item. He knew everything about every single garment. 100 items, $10,000, one show. On the other stream, I have seen people say, I have no idea what brand this is. I have no idea what kind of piece of clothing this is. I have no idea what size it is. Let's go. That's like a $2 shirt max. Or maybe people don't even bid at $1 because they don't know what it is. They don't know what size it is. They don't know why they care. So same person, two totally different outcomes. And it takes some time to gain momentum, guys. I just did a stream because today was company holiday party. So I bought everybody lunch. I forced everybody to eat together. And I said, for this hour, I'm going to do everybody else's work. You guys enjoy. Have a beer. My favorite beer is Pliny the Elder. I got everyone a beer. Got them Thai food. And I said, you guys hang out, bond, share war stories with each other. I'm going to go work for an hour and I'll come back. And when I was streaming, the first few were very rocky. Didn't get very much money the first 3 or 4 auctions, but by the time my hour was up, I was getting a full market value for each item. Got the hang of it. But it was rough at first. And it's always going to be rough at first. So when you guys are doing these things, these changes, it's going to suck a lot in the beginning. And it's just got to have that faith that it's going to turn out okay. By the end, it was so predictable. In the beginning, I had no idea what was going to happen. Like, how come this sold for $6 and the next one sold for 10 and the next one sold for 20? And then after that, everything's selling for 40 or more. You can't skip the steps in the beginning when it's not working. It's so easy to skip steps when it's not working. Go to the gym, still look the same. Do another listing, sales don't change. That is the most brutal thing. To change your system and your sales don't change. Or they go down. Imagine you go from 10 listings to 15 listings a day and your sales tank. That can happen, but you have to believe that eventually they'll be 50% higher if you're doing all the right things. It's so hard to believe that it's going to continue to grow, but it will. Progressive overload is what's up. Brandon says that in the chat, and I haven't missed leg day all year. And everyone in the morning chat gave me the idea that every day is leg day. I'm going to try that in 2024. Every day is leg day. I can get behind that. For some reason, I care about my legs more. So every day is leg day is going to be the new thing. Start with legs. That momentum will carry me into something else. So whatever is easy for you guys. Brandon says wear smaller shirts. Whatever is easier for you guys, that's what you need to start with to get that momentum going. I think it's easy to put your gym shoes on. I think the hardest part for me to go into the gym is just stepping out the front door, especially now that it's colder. When I'm on a groove, though, I don't care. I'll walk outside with a t-shirt, get in my car, drive over to the gym, get out. But when I'm not feeling good, I wear my Arctic Carhartt jacket for the 10 feet I have to walk from my door to my car, because that little bit of warmth gets me out the door. Even though I really don't need to wear a jacket to get in my car and drive 2 minutes to the gym, I really should just walk there. But anything that makes it harder, it can totally derail you. Totally derail you. But I'm really, really into creating an environment that sings, that wins, that makes it easy and slippery to get the actions that you want. The Atomic Habits book that we read all the time. You want to make habits that you don't like harder, habits that you like easier. And it just makes me think that most of the most important jobs in the world are reminders. It's a reminder. Like when they do surgery, the surgeon goes over a checklist before they cut you open, even though they've done it 100 times. I'm sure if you're a pharmacist, you have to go through a checklist before you can fill someone's prescription. You can't just do a different process every single time. I think that would kill a lot of people. You have to have some sort of process that you do each time. So really what you guys are paying for is a reminder. So Lauren says there's a 7-point check. Oh, Johnny says there's a surgical timeout. But if you're just winging it, there's no checklist. If you're buying drugs on the street, they don't double check if it's safe. That's why there's so many people that die from an overdose of something being laced, because they're really not double checking before they give it to you. That's not part of the process. Got to be careful. Got to be professional about what you do. Have a checklist of things before you launch it. Nobody accidentally reaches their income goal. That's never happened. I really don't even hear that often. Work was way easier than I thought today. I don't know if I've ever told my wife that. Honey, you wouldn't guess it. Today, way easier than I thought. I always get home and I'm like, how did I even get through the day? So many things happen that are so unpredictable. And I have to share the story with you guys. I hired a worker and I said, hey, do you mind locking up the unit before you leave? There's a camera, so I'm not worried about you. In my mind, I'm like, I'm not worried about this person stealing. All I have to do is just leave, put the lock on the storage unit, and they're good to go. So the worker tested the lock to see if it worked, and they put the lock on it, and only I have the key, so I had to drive back and unlock the lock to put it on the door. And I'm like, why didn't you test it on the door? Why would you test it? Are you serious? Okay, so first I thought, are you serious? Did you really lock yourself out by not testing this on the door? Why do you even need to test the lock? Crazy. Then I switched from, are you serious, to, wow, that is my fault. I'm going to switch to a combination lock. So now there's a combination lock on both doors because I'm not driving back. You can test the lock now as long as you know the combination. I don't have to go back. So everything now is about just making sure that it goes smooth when something happens. And you just got to laugh about it because it's going to happen every day. Things are not going to go as planned. App's not going to be working. Camera's not going to be working. Your kids are going to need something. Today is the last day of childcare for the rest of the year until January 4th. So that means tomorrow I have to deal with two awesome kids for the I'm sorry, I get the privilege of hanging out with two awesome kids for the rest of the year until January 4th. That's never happened to me before. I've never had two. I have to deal with, I'm sorry, I keep saying deal. I am the luckiest person ever because I get to hang out with my kids full time till January 4th, both of them. And it's just going to be a new journey, taking them to work, planning, and it's going to be different. Henry, my son, he's 8 months now, and he can now choose things. So he just started solid food 2 months ago. And at first, we started him with like broccoli, celery, and he was like, oh man, this is the coolest thing ever. This broccoli is the best thing ever. Because all he's had is milk before this, right? Broccoli was lit. Now, since he's had other foods, broccoli is no longer lit compared to an apple or a blackberry. He literally cried when we gave him some broccoli, and the day before he had a blackberry. He was like, yo, what are you doing? So it just is interesting because once you get to choose, right? Like if you never knew not listing, would you even think it's bad to list? It's just you've done not listing before. You've watched Netflix before instead of listing. So now listing, man, it's just can't get off that train. Once you get on the train of eating broccoli, don't get off. Can't get back on it. So much harder to restart. So much harder to get a store going that has slow sales than to keep a store with the forward momentum. Got to move forward, push forward. Be conscious, be intentional. I can't believe my son can tell now. He literally has a ranking system now for foods. It's just, you know, as I've evolved over the years, I used to think a lot of things were binary, but now I feel like it is binary, but it's different for the person. You have to know what is black and white for you. What is getting it done and what is not. And I've never done this before, but people who write their goals on the shower door and your significant other sees it every day. And can you imagine like writing on your front door, like I have these goals, and then every day you walk by that door and don't do that? How is the other person going to look at you? Like you say you want to run a business on your own, live on your own terms, but do you act that way? Next year I'm going to turn 40, guys, and it just seems like a big number to me, and I kind of am not where I thought I was going to be by now. But you know, I'm going to be having that same thought at 50 and 60, so 70 or 80. So I really just want to be intentional, and hopefully this next decade is better than the last decade. I'm grateful for it. I mean, hopefully we get to live as long as we can, but I do feel like my 30s is a lot more productive than my 20s. And I know that the highest income potential for people is their 50s. 50 to 60 is when people generally earn the most money in their life. Right before retirement, they have the most skills, most experience, most capital, most opportunities between the ages of 50 and 60. And Lynn says that 40s go by really fast. And this is how I look at it. In my 20s, I felt like every year was about a year. In my 30s, I feel like every year was about half a year. Going by real quick, because I feel like we were just 2022 and now we're almost 2024. It moves fast. Every year is like half a year. So maybe you're in your 40s, every year is like a quarter. Goes by real quick. So it just making me think. Next year I turn 40. Next year in February, in 2 months from now, is my 10-year anniversary of becoming on my own. I quit my job February 1st, 10 years ago. And man, it was so rocky. I wish I had started my channel 10 years ago in 2014 instead of 2016, because you guys would have seen a lot more hell. It was hard. 2014 through 2016, barely scrapping by, figuring out how to work, like making enough money to pay bills but not grow my company, or grow my company and not pay bills. That's brutal. But again, I don't know. Did I have to go through that for 2 years before I figured out that you're supposed to compound? Random actions versus intentional progressive actions. Carolyn says when you hit 60, it's a blink of an eye. I imagine so. It's already so fast now. My kids are already so big. So it's interesting. I feel like my kids are so big, but when I look in the mirror, they're still really small. Like Natalie's 32 pounds. She seems huge to me when I'm holding her, but in the mirror, she still looks tiny. So it's just like, but she was even tinier before. They were 7 pounds before. They just grow really fast. My business is totally unrecognizable from a couple of years ago, but it's been like that the whole time I've been doing this. It's like completely different. Christine's 2-year anniversary of being my videographer is also today. So 2 years she's been with me. And for 2 years, I've been able to provide her a living as my videographer, which is like insane. Can you believe that? I have a couple more workers that hit 1 year with me. I just wonder, what about 10 years? Is anybody listening right now had a worker that was with them for 10 years? Can't even believe that. Reseller years, 1 year is 7 years. It's like dog years. The people listening right now, I know 7 months ago. I know 1 year ago you, totally different. 1 year ago you was a baby reseller compared to now. Who here is not a completely different reseller than a year ago? Are you serious? It's like 2 years ago, it's not that long ago, but 2 years ago, I used to make videos till 3 o'clock in the morning and release them in the middle of the night. And it was raw. It was just me in my living room trying to figure it out. I'm like, maybe if I do this, it'll be better tomorrow. Marika says she's a completely different person. She celebrates 1 year of sobriety and Christmas Day. Congratulations. My birthday is on Monday, guys. What should I do? Christmas baby here. I turned 39. 4 days. I'm going to go to Starbucks and get a free Starbucks. Nothing is really open. Movie theaters, restaurants, Starbucks, 7-Eleven. No one's home. I just spent Christmas alone. No, I'm not alone with family, but it is interesting because everybody's off on Christmas. And I anticipate that, honestly, I think next week's going to be really busy for sales. I think people are not going to slow down buying. I think it's just going to be as busy as ever. Oh, Johnny said last year he was watching my videos and just jumped in and went to a thrift store. Man, that seems like 2 weeks ago that I was at Savers looking at 3D puzzles, Ravensburger puzzles, and like, man, these things are crazy. They're 3D, a 3D puzzle. Oh my God, that's so insane. These sell for $100 retail. People pay $100 for a puzzle. And I didn't realize that 3D puzzles were a thing. Or I sold a replica of a Coliseum for like $128. And it was like, man, somebody threw this away. And it was missing a flagpole. There were 3 flagpoles and one of them was missing, still sold. So we're just in a very, very interesting place, guys, where you can choose your own destiny, but we're doing this for extra income. We're doing this for enjoyment. We're doing this for self-actualization, doing it for the flexibility. We're doing it to not have to deal with other people. We're doing it to be sustainable. If you share, you can be inspirational to others. And I'm just psyched. Next year, I want every single person to have a standard operating procedure. Carolyn Inc. What does she want out of life? Why does she want that out of life? What are the steps required for her to get that out of her life? What skills does she need to learn? And documentation on how to do it. Nadine is going to learn about 3D puzzles now. Yeah, it's just, I can't believe these things all are out there. All these magical things we can sell to make money are just existing everywhere. And there's no end to sight. Did anyone hear Goodwill's going out of business? I don't think so. They still turn down donations, especially this time of year. I'm psyched, guys. Everybody take care of yourself. I appreciate everybody. We'll see you guys next week on the podcast. I have a lot of cool guests lined up. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me during the solo podcast. And I'll see you next week.